Good morning, friends. I guess good afternoon for some, depending on when you're watching this. And fellow one-to-one community one-to-one network community members. Hey, it's me, Sami Cone. I am taking over. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Yes, hey, I am here to teach you some live streaming tips today. And I'm so grateful for all the women that have gone before me. Good morning, Malia. Hey there. This will not be a super long segment because I don't do super long videos or live streams. I just don't think people have the time to watch it. Good morning, Barbara. Hi there. So I'm going to give you some quick tips on how I do my daily live stream on Facebook Live, but how you can use that to promote elsewhere. Now, I know this is going to be unlike some of the other live streams you've seen on here, and I love all the women that have done it. I feel honored to be in that category with them. I just do things a little differently. Hey, Phaedra, good morning. So one of my personal pet peeves is when we start something at a certain time, but then people say, we're going to wait, we're going to hang out here for a minute. I typically do a 3-minute daily video, and it goes live on Facebook Live, but then I promote it on a lot of different sources. And I don't want anyone clicking off of me because they're waiting for me to wait for other people on the replay. So I teach public speaking. You have 7 to 10 seconds to make an impact. So that's why you need to capture your audience. There we go. Sorry, we're back. You gotta love school office calls. 3 things that I am going to teach you very briefly and very succinctly today, okay? That is to be memorable, to be sustainable, and to be marketable in your live streaming, okay? Memorable, sustainable. If I was really good, I would have had like memorable, sustainable, marketable. Memorable, sustainable, marketable. Okay. Can't guarantee that's all the dancing you're going to get. It just happens sometimes. So what I do is I do a daily live stream called the Daily Dash. And what it is, let's show you here. Memorable, sustainable, marketable. So what I typically do is I will actually start my live stream by flipping my, I'm going to do now, and I will hold this up as a marker. Okay. So people know what it is as we start, and I will say, welcome friends, flip it back to me. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dash. It's everything you need to know from around the world and in my life, straight from my dashboard to yours. Now you may be wondering, why do I do this? First of all, I'm comfortable with video. I do TV and radio here in Nashville and around the country. I love it. I found something that worked for me. So what do you want to be known for? That's the first thing you have to realize. What do you want to be known for? For me, I was looking for something that would give me a little soundbite of what was going on in the world because I'm not a very newsy person, okay? And I also wanted to be able to let people know what was going on in my life. Yes, Barbara says, hold up your show name as a marker. Yes, so you are right. I do need, and that is the thing, because if you do what I do, so well, actually, Barbara, remind me if I don't come back to that, because that's such a great tip about not having things be backwards. So make sure that you set yourself apart. For me, it's actually harder for me to blog than it is to vlog every day, but the two can go hand in hand. I'm going to show you how. So by doing my daily dash, I do it every weekday, so that also gives me breaks on the weekends, and I have my assistant help me. This is how we do it. I have a show notes set up in Evernote. And if you're not using Evernote, it is the one app you should be using. If anyone, I have a hard time narrowing down like my favorite song, my favorite actress. Evernote is the one app. If you said you can only have one app besides like social media, Evernote. Okay. So Evernote, I have what's going on. I've got the title. I've got something that is, if I'm talking about someone, for instance, today I tagged one-to-one network. If I'm going to a show, if I'm talking about a movie premiere, if I'm talking about a shirt I'm wearing, Project 615. Okay, little shameless plug there. They help the homeless. It's a great, great organization. Okay, so title, in the world. I have 3 bullet points of 3 news items to give you a little tip of what's going on. Then I go to what's going on in my life. Now, the beauty of this, okay, is that it's very sustainable. Like I said, I do a 3-minute video. It's very quick, right? And it's quick for people to watch. It's something that I can do every day. Don't start something that you cannot replicate on the basis that you're promising. If you're promising once a week or once a month, that's great. Don't say you're going to do a daily video if you're not going to do a daily video. That is annoying. One of the things you noticed, I call this the daily dash because, it's on the dashboard of my car. This means I can do it from anywhere. It doesn't have to be at home, in my office, at a certain spot, okay? The other beauty of this is that it's typically, even though I have those things that I planned, like I will tell you more about, it's pretty much me. This isn't high production. I've got a clip that I'm not going to show you because you can get it for $6 on Amazon. I've got a clip that holds my phone, okay? And like today when I had to switch cars with my husband, I can switch that clip. I've got my little thing that I printed, my little show marker that I can put up. And what I've even thought about as I was thinking about this today, as you notice, so I've got my husband's stuff. Wouldn't this be great space for some advertising? I've got that bag of my husband's in the back. Who thought? Also, might be handy if you are talking about something you want people to remember. Go ahead and put that on a card that you can hold up as well. Now, as Barbara mentioned, okay, I guess she noted for me, which I appreciate, you have to flip the camera or it's going to be backwards. So as I told you, I do my welcome. I always do the same welcome. Okay, I say the dates. Today is April 7th, 2017. Here's what you need to know so you're in the know around the water cooler and in Carline today. That's my little clip that signifies I'm going to go into the news. I talk about the news. I talk about what's going on in my life. I also people started asking about my nail color because I talk with my hands. So I started to write what's on my nails. Well, if you notice, if I hold up, right now I'm wearing Cotton Buds by Butter London. And if I do this, Barbara, as you mentioned, it's backwards, right? So if I really want to make sure my audience sees what I'm about, first of all, don't hold your finger in front of the camera. Second of all, hold it like that so it can be focused on. Ooh, that's a little out. There we go. So that's a little something to do. I love that that came about so naturally because of my audience. The other great thing about doing this daily video, so we've talked about memorable, we've talked about sustainable. This is very marketable. Okay, what I mean by that is that I'm naturally talking about things I'm doing anyway. I naturally talk about my Project 615 shirts because they're super cool, great Nashville shirts, and they employ the homeless or the underprivileged, the under-resourced. So for a month last year, I partnered with Project 615 and I wore a Project 615 shirt every day. Right? So you can also sell advertising if you wanted to, like I think I'm going to start doing over here, or even just putting something behind you. So I like the natural nature of this, but if it's something that you love already and are talking about already, live streaming is such a natural way for you to just continue to talk about what you love. So again, how do I make this happen every day? So I told you I have the Evernote, and I have that similar system in my Evernote. I've got my little teaser. I've got the title that I then copy, and that becomes my social media title. I have in the world, in my life. I've got what I'm wearing on my nails. And then I have a little part I call stay in the know on the go. It's all my social media handles. All my social media handles, okay? I also have a disclosure at the bottom because I've now added affiliate links for Butter London. And if I'm talking about something, if I got free movie tickets, if I get to go to a free event, you still have to make sure to disclose that here. So what I'll do is, you saw on our, on the title of this, you have a brief title, right? So I'll start with that title, but then as soon as I'm done filming, I already have everything in my Evernote. So I'll go in my phone, copy and paste the show notes, go back and edit the Facebook Live so it's on there. So it's on my fan page. That's where I start. I was doing Periscope for a while. The audience wasn't as big, and I don't like that I had to hold it vertically instead of horizontally. Now, even though you can turn it horizontally on Periscope now, when it saves it to the camera roll, it does it vertically still, which is strange. So I've moved over to Facebook Live. As soon as I'm done, I hit finish, right? I take a picture, so I get a cover page. So usually it looks something like this, in my camera. And then what I do is I will save, like I said, I save it in Facebook or post it, and then I save it to my camera roll. Okay, so I go from there to my photos and I upload it directly onto YouTube. Okay, copy and paste everything from the show notes. Okay, you want everything that goes into the YouTube description. Okay? Again, you've got all of your links there to all of your other social media properties. Now, when I do this in Facebook Live, I've just learned recently that Facebook, this is going to make me sound bad, but that's okay. I've learned that Facebook doesn't like when you put a bunch of outbound links that take you away from Facebook. Makes sense. It is what it is. So I actually take all of those links off when I post it and edit my show notes in the Facebook fan page. I leave them on for YouTube. I leave them on for the blog post. So the critical part of this is that I have my wonderful assistant, Brenna, who is waiting for those show notes. And as soon as the show notes are done, she will go into the blog post template and load all that up. So we've got a blog post that goes up almost simultaneously because she's got the show notes ready. As soon as I save this to the camera roll and upload it to YouTube, I send her the link. She embeds the video into the blog post. She takes the picture, the cover image, that becomes the featured image of the blog post. So within about 5 minutes, I have a Facebook Live. I have it saved on Facebook fan page. I have it going to my personal Facebook page. As soon as it posts on YouTube, it automatically posts on Twitter. And then I also put it on Google+. So going back to remember our 3 tips. I'm waiting for you to say it. Okay, right? Memorable, sustainable, marketable. It's such a great way to be able to talk about a brand that you love, and you can tell them that you're going to have a blog post, live video, Facebook, Twitter. You can even do it on Instagram, okay? And Google+. It's all there. So this is such, I don't want to say easy. I realize I asked Brenna, how long have we been doing this? I've been doing this for over 3 years now. So when you talk about sustainable, now I've missed a handful of days. I actually missed yesterday. But I mean, really, I've missed a handful of days doing this over 3 years. And it's me. It's all me. You're getting me. Some days I'm literally out of the shower. If I'm talking about a brand, I'm usually not just out of the shower. But it's real life. It's exactly what it is. In my episode today, I talked about going to marriage counseling later, and I talked about a parenting seminar I'm going to. What I'll typically do halfway through is remind people, because again, you're going to get people that didn't join in from the beginning, okay? And so I'll say, remember, if you missed any of this, thank you, Barbara. Yes, you have to be a little bit of everywhere. I am a big fan of really sticking with what you're good at. Focus on what you're good at, but that doesn't mean you can ignore the other properties that are out there. You just can't. So you need to diversify, which is why I don't like waiting for a long time at the beginning of my video. Still acknowledge everyone that's interacting with you, but no one's going to watch that replay, and brands don't want to hear you just talking to your friends. Acknowledge your audience, answer questions, by the way, if you have any questions. But what I'll do halfway through is I'll say, as a reminder, if you missed any of this, you can always catch up on the whole thing at SamiCone.com, at the Sami Cone on social media, or on my YouTube page. And I'll just say that one time. And I've had a lot of people appreciate that I'm not constantly plugging things. Speaking of plugging, I will do one. So this is my book, Raising Uncommon Kids, right? And sometimes I'll do this, or as I'm talking, I may just do the hold up. Yes, it's backwards, but I might just do this as I'm talking, okay? And just talk about the book, or talk about whatever it is I happen to be doing that day, talking about what I'm loving. So that's the gist of it, okay? So let's see what we're at time-wise here. We have gone about 15 minutes, which is a lot longer than I would normally talk. But I want you guys to see the process. I want you to see the realistic process. I want you to consider your setup, okay? Again, like I said, I know there's different blank spaces here. That's a good question, Barbara. Do I do the same time every day? I was going to talk about this. I don't, and only because it's real life. I should. I think if there was one thing I wish I was doing, is that I wish I would do it at the same time every day. I think I would have a bigger audience. I advise people to do something at the same time every day so that you can have people coming back and expecting. I did for a while, but my husband travels a lot. I travel a lot, and I have 2 kids that are tweens. And so life just happens. And so I never want to sacrifice my real life to put something up online that isn't real. And so that's a sacrifice. That's a choice I've made. I don't know. Sacrifice might be a strong term. I started doing this as I was coming out of a marriage crisis. I almost lost my marriage 4 years ago. And part of my dilemma was that I was going through this personal trauma and drama, and yet I still had this online presence. And so I wanted to be real without being a crybaby, for lack of a better word. I wanted to share this, but also know, I still have to work through this. So that being said, I do not go the same time every day. Promo plan, you can let people know, kind of like I did with this. Hey, I'm going live in 5 minutes on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media. I don't enlist others to do that because, again, I find so much of the value in what happens even after the live. So I do have some fans that are very faithful and very loyal, and just encourage people to set up notifications so they will be notified when you go live. I'm not going to lie and say I've got a great promotional plan, because to me, I put in the legwork beforehand, but then I put it out there. And people are on all different time zones doing things at all different times of day. I do say I try to do it in the morning around 10:30 so people know when to look for it typically. And you know what? There should be a way to probably stop calls when you're doing this, and I don't know that, as you can see. So if any of you know how to do that, I would love to hear that. But yes, your fans and the people that kind of know you and love you know what to expect, and they've already got you set up on their phone to get those notifications for when you go live. Okay. I love when Lou did her thing, she talked about notes. I do have a couple notes that I've put, sticky notes. I usually put it right here under my camera lens so that you still see that I'm looking at you. I just put a few up on my rear view mirror. I will say, people ask, do you have a script? Like I said, I prepare and I have my notes done in advance, but I do not go off of a script, again, because this is me. It's 3 minutes, it's quick, and so preparation is, even when you're speaking publicly, I always tell people, know your points. What were my 3 points? Memorable, sustainable, marketable. So I know what I have to get across. The rest of it is going to get woven in naturally, and that might change based on some of the questions that you get as well. But I want you to know that this lives beyond the live. It doesn't have to, but for me, that's a very important part of what I do. It's real, it's authentic, but it lives beyond the live. So that's what I've got going on. The more that you can let your audience know what to expect, what I've learned in radio, I do a 60-second nationally syndicated segment called the Family Money Minute as well. And so what I will do is, what I've learned is that you get a little teaser and then you introduce yourself. So, on the Family Money Minute, I'll say, have you ever wondered what it's like to be a space astronaut? I'm going to tell you about it coming up, or something like that. Hi, this is Sami Cone with your Family Money Minute, right? Add captioning on YouTube, Barbara asked. I have not yet, but again, that's one of those things I'm not doing that I should be doing. So it's been shown out, if you're going to do anything on any sort of video, you really should have closed captioning on, because a lot of times where people are watching it, the sound cannot be turned on, or we know on Facebook the sound does not turn on. So yes, I have not done that. Do not do as I do as I say. Thank you, Barbara, for saying that. Closed captioning is so important. You need to have those words at the bottom of what you're doing. Malia asked, do you approach brands about mentioning them in your daily show? Yes. Yes and yes, or do I offer it once I've been contacted? So I have a standard price for a sponsored post, okay? I double that price for inclusion in the Daily Dash, because you're getting so much more. It's the coverage, like I said, it's the coverage on all the social media channels, plus it lives on YouTube, plus Google+. So I will reach out to brands with that if I think it's a good fit. You know, if I'm talking about, I'm trying to think if there's something that hasn't been a good fit. I can't think. It's going to be harder to talk about like karate lessons, for instance, when you don't have something to show, or if I can't talk about, like I said, the nail polish, or the shirt. But if I'm talking about a show I'm going to, I feel like people would rather hear me talk about it and react to me and ask me questions than just write a post about it that comes across more of a press release, even if it's something you really love. So that's a yes and yes, Malia. I will approach brands. I think it would work well. Like for instance, the Project 615. Now I did that. I did not charge them because I just believe in the nonprofits, or well, not a nonprofit. I believe in what they're doing so much, but they gave me shirts in exchange for doing that. And again, the phone calls. You know, I'm only getting phone calls because I'm doing this right now. So that being said, there's different ways that you can approach it. I'm also a big believer, as much as I believe in getting paid to do what you do, I also believe you have to prove yourself. And so I am willing to sometimes do something like this without going into the expense of charging someone to prove what the impact can be. Because something I've learned with working with brands, sometimes it takes a lot of effort to cut $100, $500, even $1,000 check. Right? The payroll process is painful. So if it doesn't cost them enough, honestly, sometimes, or if they don't already have a network in place, it's not going to be worth their while. So if you can really prove that what you're doing is worthwhile and do it once, as long as it's not taking away from your other commitments and your other business, I will do that. And I feel like I've gotten not only great PR relationships, but I've also been able to get paying gigs after that fact. So hopefully that answers the question, Malia. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge believer in being paid for your work and in getting what you're worth. But I also know, and Barbara, I think we spoke on a panel about this once. You can't just say I'm a blogger and I do this and expect to get paid for it. You have to show some sort of a track record. And I've been doing this for 9 years. You know, I don't like the word hustle. I will just say I don't like the word hustle because it's, to me, that alludes overextending yourself. I also don't like when people say 110%. That too is one of my biggest pet peeves. But you give everything you've got. Sports metaphor, you leave it all on the field, okay, or on the court, go Tar Heels, and it'll pay off. Just don't overextend yourself, don't overpromise and underdeliver, and don't commit to something you cannot keep up with. Okay. That's what I've got today. If there are any other questions, I don't know if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer them. I will also be happy to check back on the stream to see if anyone comes up with questions later. You can find me at Sami Cone on Facebook, at the Sami Cone on Twitter and Instagram. SamiCone.com is my blog. We'll do the other book, Raising Uncommon Kids, wherever books are sold. And of course on media here in Nashville and around the country. You are so welcome. It has been my pleasure, and I hope you guys will just try it. If you haven't tried live streaming, give it a try. You can see the cost is minimal. The commitment is whatever you say it's going to be, okay? And you just might be able to turn it into your next big marketable idea. Thanks to Barbara and Malia and all of you at the One-to-One Network. Mwah! I think you guys are great, and you know where to find me now. You're welcome, Ingrid. Bye, guys.